All right, good afternoon and welcome everybody to this Augmentt webinar. We'll be chatting today a little bit about how we as MSPs can be helping our clients in their legal services space protect their data and some of the opportunity that we see for ourselves as MSPs in this space. It's definitely something that we've noticed amongst our Augmentt partners. That they're having great success when working with legal firms for a couple of great reasons, which I will cover in this webinar today. Some of you might know who I am already, but my name is Stefan, and I'm a Partner Success Manager here at Augmentt. I might be your Partner Success Manager if you're a partner joining today. And my job here is to make sure that our partners are successful with all aspects of their Augmentt platform, to advise on any go-to-market strategies that they might have, and to give advice on where we're seeing current success in our partners, such as with our partners in the legal space. So what I'll be covering today are a couple of points on legal service providers as customers and what makes them attractive to us as people to work with. We'll also talk a little bit about their top concerns and things that we can be working to help them with. And we'll also touch on some of the opportunity we see for MSPs working in the legal space and how we can really add value and generate some revenue there. So to kick us off, let's talk a little bit about legal service providers as customers and what they look like for us as MSPs and where we might be able to help them. So who are legal service providers? Well, legal service providers are usually lawyers or law firms. And what makes them really unique is that they have a lot of access to information that is confidential, personal, not available to the public. And this could be anything from personal data to financial data. And these legal specialists are working across the board in almost every industry and every specialization you can think of in society today. And just to give you a few examples, we've got lawyers and law firms who specialize in things like civil law, common law, corporate law, intellectual property law, criminal law, environmental law, healthcare law, and maritime law. There's even legal specialists who work in the space specialization. So if any of you are looking for extraterrestrial clients, you can also check those guys out as well. Now, one of the big common threads that we're seeing here is that all of these clients are working with very sensitive data, and this data, could be from any number of sensitive areas for these end users. So it could be their personal and financial data. It could be potential criminal data or police department documentation, court documentation, criminal history, proprietary information, and sensitive intellectual property. It could be environmental impact reports, any personal information covered under HIPAA, or even the values and manifests of any stock or products that a company is working with. So it is very sensitive data. It is very valuable, and this data needs to be protected. The people in the legal profession are very aware of the fact that they need to be working to make sure that all of their clients' confidential information is kept that way. So what are some of the general characteristics we see in these legal providers, and what makes them great clients for us as MSPs to work with? Well, there's a couple of great things here about legal providers. One is that they have a very strong positive cash flow in their business generally. So they have the budget to be able to afford strong security services. Their operations are highly regulatory and compliance driven. So, they're always working within some sort of framework, which means that any non-compliance to that framework could open them up to litigation or potential fines. Great thing for us as MSPs is there are a lower number of tenants in general, lower number of users per tenant in general for legal service providers. So that means for us as MSPs, a little bit of a lower overhead. We're dealing with less user accounts, and it's less hours that we have to put into each tenant. But because they have such a strong information security focus, it means that they're willing to pay that premium dollar for those extra security services. So, they definitely have that positive cash flow and the budget to be investing in security. They have a need to be investing in their operations and compliance, so they need MSP partners. As I said, they have that lower headcount per tenant, which makes them easy to work with, and they're going to have a continuing strong focus on security and making sure that their clients' data is staying safe and confidential. So that puts them in a really good spot to work with MSP partners, and I think a really good opportunity for us to be engaging people in the legal profession to have that discussion around their security services and their data protection. So one of the things that legal providers really need MSPs for is that they require all this IT security expertise that they don't currently have in-house. So they rely on partners such as MSPs and trusted advisors to help them manage their way through that process so that they're staying compliant and within the guidelines of their respective professions. Now, I'm going to use some examples today from the American Bar Association, as a lot of our partners are in North America, but I can tell you that similar parameters exist in the UK, in Australia, in Canada. And I'm just going to give you some examples of some of the things the American Bar Association has put out that sort of put the onus on legal firms to be dealing with their cybersecurity and data protection. The first is the professional rule of conduct, which is 1.1 in the American Bar Association Manual of Professional Conduct. And that is that lawyers need to maintain requisite knowledge and skills to keep abreast of changes in law and its practice, including the benefits and risks associated with relevant technology. So that clearly means that they have to stay on top of the technology that they're using to handle all of their information and be proactive in keeping the requisite skills and knowledge to protect their clients' information. This was followed up this year with Formal Opinion 477 from the American Bar Association, which requires lawyers to take special security precautions to protect against the inadvertent or unauthorized disclosure of client information when required to by law, by agreement, or when that information requires a higher degree of security. So that basically covers all of those sensitive data points we were talking about earlier. Anyone's personal information that might be protected under HIPAA, anyone's financial information, potential criminal information, or background and history information, or industry information, industry reports that could be leaked that could affect reputation and or bottom line of any organizations. All of that information needs to be kept secure. So legal firms now definitely have to turn their eye to their SaaS operations and make sure that with this new and growing SaaS portfolio that they're using, all that information is staying secure. It's not getting disclosed inadvertently to anyone at all, so that we can maintain that confidentiality. And the final formal opinion I'll give you from the American Bar Association is that, in compliance with the duty of confidentiality, lawyers must make reasonable efforts to prevent the inadvertent and unauthorized disclosure of any information relating to the people they're representing and take reasonable precautions when transmitting such information. So that clearly covers file sharing, and a lot of file sharing, as you will well know, is happening via SaaS apps today. So there's clearly a duty of competency that requires cybersecurity considerations from all legal firms right now. And, I think I might have touched on this with some of you who I've talked to before, but since 2099, we've seen a 778% increase in breaches and cyber attacks across the board. Which means that there's definitely a lot more consideration to be put into SaaS security and cybersecurity for all of these legal providers. Now, another reason why law firms will want to be working with an MSP such as yourself is that there is a clear and present danger to their cloud environment today. Now, I have um, got some stats here from the American Bar Association. Again, there was a great report that they put out from a survey they did this year. And this is just a couple of the things that have been happening over the last year to some of their members. A phishing scheme resulted in nearly 900 people losing their social security numbers and the data that they had around their salaries, which is obviously a massive a massive breach of confidentiality there. And of course, fines were incoming on that action there. There was a ransomware attack where the law firm was forced to pay the ransom in Bitcoin. And I can tell you it was multiple Bitcoins, just to give you an idea of how much they actually had to pay. And at the same time, they lost the equivalent of $700,000 worth of client billing hours due to the downtime created by that ransomware attack. So, people definitely in the legal space are aware of these things going on, and they are looking for partners who can help them, avoid any breaches of personal data and avoid that downtime. There was another scheme where, and I'm sure people have seen this before, phony bank websites coming through, people are clicking through. It cost one law firm $76,000 and another $41,000 just from a simple phishing attack. So, these environments are definitely being pushed. The legal space is one of the most targeted spaces for cyber attacks. So these guys are aware that there is a danger to their environments. The last one I'll leave you with is possibly the most heinous, which is there was a ransomware incident this year where a firm's internal IT department had to log 15,000 hours of paid overtime to wipe and rebuild an entire Windows environment. And I don't need to tell you guys how painful that process would have been. And this instance itself could have been solved just by enforcing MFA across the board for all users in that company. So, obviously there is, a lot of threat there to their environments, and there's definitely a value add we can bring as MSPs to help get these guys secure and make sure that their environments aren't exposed to these types of breaches. So you're probably wondering, what are some of the top concerns that our legal partners are worrying about, and how we might be able to add value there. And I'll run through three of them for you here today. The first, of course, is that fear of breach and the resulting fines that come with it. And as I said, the legal profession is one of the most targeted fields currently for cyber attacks. So liability, insurance, and breaches are a huge concern. From that same American Bar Association survey, 26% of surveyed firms reported breaches in this last year. Those were just the people who put their hands up and who were aware of the breaches that occurred. So a significant number of firms are getting hit each year, and that's just within the American Bar Association. I'm sure similar stats could be presented for any country, including Canada, the UK, Australia, whichever one you're based in. Now, because these breaches are common, they're also very expensive. And again, another example from this year is a UK law firm being fined 125,000 US dollars for maintaining a vulnerable IT security framework that led to a theft of court documents. And again, this was an MFA related incident. So again, doing something as simple as making sure that everybody had their MFA turned on could have saved that law firm, $125,000 from a single breach. And that is the good news. All of these types of breaches are preventable. To give you a Microsoft stat there, MFA alone could block 99.9% of data breaches to M365. However, only 11% of global businesses have their MFA configured properly. Those are stats from Microsoft, and obviously Microsoft is the most common business critical application used by law firms. This is where they're housing a lot of their clients' sensitive information. This is where they have all their notes and communications with their clients, which are also strictly confidential as well. So the fear of breach is very real. However, it's kind of a simple fix for us as MSPs to be able to come into their environments and make sure we're locking things down by enabling MFA, 2FA, and securing all of their SaaS applications. The second major concern that a lot of legal service providers will have is that they need to maintain confidentiality. And they also need to be audit ready. Should anything occur, they need to have a paper trail where they can, prove who's been using what, where, and when. And as a result, they need really three key things here to make sure that they're maintaining confidentiality and they're ready for an audit at any time. And that includes an inventory of all apps being used and who has access to those apps so that they have an audit log of the SaaS applications being used. As you're probably aware, shadow IT is on the rise. With the beginning of, with the beginning of the global pandemic and the move to decentralized workforces, we've seen a lot of businesses, including law firms, adopt a cloud and SaaS-based infrastructure so that they can support those distributed workforces. Now, what that's meant is a lot of users have been able to log into their web browser, access whatever app they needed to get the job done, download it, and share potentially sensitive information to an unvetted application. So, we really need to take steps to combat that, make sure that we have our legal partners on a set of or a stack of approved applications, and that we know who's been using those applications over time so that if we do get audited, we have that log there. Another step that they should be taking as a bare minimum is automatically backing up the information housed in any of their SaaS apps that could be sensitive. So, M365 backups should be happening all the time. Google Workspace backups should be happening all the time. If they're using file sharing services such as Box and Dropbox, those should also be backed up as well. The final thing there is having that MFA audit and making sure that MFA is enforced across the board for all of our legal service providers. And the big thing here, and I know you guys would have been seeing this as well, insurance premiums for cybersecurity have gone crazy over the last couple of years. In some places, they've gone up 200%. And really what that is a result of is since 2019, we've seen an increase of 778% of cyber attacks coming in and breaches being reported. And the reason for that is so many more people are now jumping into the cloud and adopting SaaS applications before really securing their environments, enabling MFA, enabling 2FA, and making sure they're doing so in a safe manner. So by being able to audit that SaaS stack, we can make sure we're eliminating that shadow IT, anything that's unsanctioned, unapproved, and we can ensure business continuity by refining that to a trusted stack, making sure it's vetted, and making sure MFA and 2FA are enabled on those apps. Another big issue that legal providers do worry about is business continuity, and this is a big one. So I can't stress how important this one is. If legal providers experience downtime of any amount, they're losing billable hours, and their business model is built around billable hours. So if one of your legal providers is using something that's unsanctioned, insecure, or susceptible to a breach, if that breach does occur, they could lose access to that sensitive information that they need to process their clients' cases, which will result in severe downtime for their business, meaning that they can't proceed with the work that they need to get done. That in itself is a huge operational nightmare for them. However, also, once they're locked out of those company resources, they are unable to bill those hours. That could cost hundreds of thousands of dollars per day. And a really huge downside for the legal firms here is if they're unable to prosecute their clients' cases and they're unable to give timely updates, it's definitely going to affect their reputation. And law firms rely on their reputation to be able to generate new revenue. So having any of these disruptions to their business continuity is definitely a major worry for them. And they want to avoid any severe downtime or any event that might cause them any loss of reputation whatsoever. Also, a large concern for them there is that, they do have a data breach, which ends up costing them, a lot of money. And we've talked about some of the costs for data breaches previously on another slide. But to give you an IBM stat, based on IBM's 2001 data breach report, the average cost of a data breach is now up to $4.24 million per incident, which is a 10% increase from 2020, which is the single largest increase we've seen in the last 7 years. So the data for 2022 will be coming out shortly. I unfortunately didn't have it for this presentation, but because of the number of breaches that we're seeing now, and the increases in cybersecurity insurance and so on, we're seeing that breaches are now costing more and more per year. So it's definitely something that legal firms are going to want to stay ahead of and make sure they're not exposed to. So, where is the real opportunity for us here as MSPs to come into the legal space and be able to add value to our clients here? Well, there's 4 places where we really see a great opportunity. Obviously, the increase of cybersecurity attacks and breaches means that there is a clear and present danger, and we can come in and add value by helping deal with some of these incidences, making sure we're doing audits, we're detecting threats, we're locking down environments so that breaches don't happen, and we're keeping client information secure. Another great opportunity is because of the adoption of SaaS and the move to the cloud, we are seeing a lot of shadow IT that we can help our legal clients deal with. And we can put into place processes around this new sort of cloud IT space that everybody's working in. Because, as we said, this shift to the cloud has sort of happened very quickly. And a lot of firms haven't put the right processes and security protocols in place to make sure that they're using the cloud as safely as possible. Another big area of opportunity for us is the increase in insurance premiums. As I said, I don't need to tell you guys how much more difficult it is just to get cybersecurity insurance. But at a bare minimum, what we need to be doing is showing the insurers that we can enforce MFA across the board. And we think that there's a great opportunity to work with your legal partners on this to make sure 100% across the board, everyone is MFA'd and 2FA'd across the board, so that breaches are a lot less likely to happen, and we're a lot more likely to win that cybersecurity insurance to ensure that those clients' sensitive pieces of data stay confidential and secure. Now, the 4th aspect, which is a really big opportunity that we see, is securing the SaaS software perimeter. So we really see the cloud and SaaS as the new security perimeter. With unprecedented access to all sorts of information and applications on the web, we really need to be taking a proactive step to make sure that our clients are using the right applications at the right time with the right people having access, and that we've locked down the security aspects of all of those software applications, so we're not opening ourselves up to any risks down the line. So we think that there are some great opportunities there to work with people in the legal space to address some of these issues, if not all of them, and get them on fully managed managed service provider contracts, and give them that platinum level coverage of all of their security. And some of the security controls that you might see or might want to see for somebody like a legal provider are identity and access management protocols, so that we know who's using what apps and where they're using them from. We definitely want to have some security policies based around being able to audit our SaaS environment, be able to see what's being used actively on the environment and by who. We definitely want to get an idea of the baseline of our security and work towards incrementally hardening that perimeter. And of course, if anything changes, we want to be able to see that as well as we're working on their environment, and of course, spot any new and incoming threats. Now, this is obviously something that we offer today with our our secure module, which is 360 protection of Microsoft 365, which allows us to audit, do threat analysis and security configuration audits to protect and do policy management, MFA configuration, and detect and give alerts when anything changes on that environment so that we can make sure that our clients' information is staying nice and secure. So to give you a quick summary of what we chatted about today, the opportunity we really see here is that legal service providers have a high amount of revenue per employee. So there's a great willingness to spend on security items there. They currently lack the technical staff in-house that they need unless they're a very, very large firm to handle this shift to the cloud and the security implications of working with all these SaaS applications and trying to house their data confidentially and securely. And obviously, there is a huge cost to them for non-compliance to any of this. So it's in their best interest to be working with a specialized MSP partner to nail down that security. What they're really going to be looking for out of these opportunities is the ability to audit, who's using what, when, where, and how, to prevent any data loss whatsoever of that confidential information that they're taking care of for their clients. And they absolutely want to avoid at all costs any downtime associated with the use of any technology that they have. And I think that there's, quite a good fit there for MSPs to be able to ensure that we're running, QBRs or monthly touch points to show audits, how we're preventing data loss and preventing any downtime by enforcing good security policies and practices there. So opportunities for us as MSPs, definitely to secure business critical applications like M365, make sure we have a very well-established perimeter there so that we're not losing any data from our most business critical application, our most common SaaS app that we see across most legal service providers' environments. We definitely want that software inventory so that we can stay within compliance and be able to apply for our cybersecurity insurance. And we want to be able to give that value add by helping our legal service providers manage their vendors, give them advice as to who is offering the best service, who's the most secure, and making sure that they have processes and policies in place to use those applications safely. Now, some of you might be talking to legal service providers soon. And as I mentioned, one of my jobs here is to work with our partners to talk about them with go-to-market strategies. And coming in the next week, there will be an update to Augmentt Academy. For those of you unfamiliar, Augmentt Academy is our online resource for all of our technical training and sales and marketing collateral. There'll be a new edition coming in here next week, which will include a full marketing campaign for any of your legal service providers, which includes a blog post, a 4-week email campaign, a 4-week social media campaign, landing page copy for those campaigns, and of course a Forbes article written by our very own Gavin Garbo, who is our founder and chairman here, who published an article to Forbes recently detailing some of the threats that are prevalent in the legal space at the moment. Now, I want to thank you all very much for attending our webinar today. And as a way of saying thank you, we'd love to offer you a free 100 seats of Augmentt Discover. Augmentt Discover is our SaaS auditing tool that will allow you to find out what SaaS applications are being used on your environments, who's been accessing them and how much, so that you can provide those ongoing SaaS inventory reports, help with some of your compliance and your insurance framework there, but also give you that visibility that you might currently be lacking into your clients' SaaS usage. So please feel free to go to the URL try.augmentt.com/law firms data webinar, 100 free seats. I'll post that link in the chat as well if any of you want to click directly through on that. And I thought as for any of our people who are new to Augmentt, might want to know, we take onboarding and partner success very seriously here at Augmentt. One of the biggest mantras you'll hear from us is that your success is our success. And we've got a great little quote here from Eric Johnson, who is the president of Credo Technology Group, who is basically saying that we have a very strong onboarding process, and he has nothing to do but sing our praises about how we've given him some good treatment as he's come on. Now, obviously, I want to thank you again very much for attending the webinar today. My contact email is on that slide right there. It's really easy. It's stefan.tomeko@augmentt.com. If any of you have any questions whatsoever following this webinar, if you'd like to get in touch to talk about anything Augmentt, please feel free to write me anytime.